Hello, frenemies. This is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. If you follow us on Instagram, which if you don't, you should, we'll put a link below the like button. But I've been doing a lot of Nordic curls. This is a part of my program that I put in. I do twice a week, every week, and I have for over a year. Really what caused me to want to do this is I was watching some running backs, sprinters, like guys that are just like some of the best developed posterior chains in the world. And they were doing these Nordic curls and it was like, man, I would really love to be able to go down and back up slow. And so I was like, I haven't really done a lot of Nordic curls. Let me just see where I'm at. I got up on it and I just fell on my face. And that's kind of what happens with this movement if you've never done it. It's very unassuming, but can get very difficult. The thing is, in order to do these, you kind of need some equipment to do it. Now you can do it with like a rolled up mat and somebody holding your legs, but if you're working out by yourself in your home gym, not really a possibility because you don't have somebody to train with. Now, there's also other options where you could like put stuff in different posts on your uprights, but it's just not a perfect experience. So I sought out Nordic boards, and Nordic boards are basically units that are made to use for one movement, and that is Nordic curls. The problem is they often take up quite a bit of space because they're really designed for commercial purposes. They're heavy and they're expensive. Well, that's where this product we're reviewing today comes in. This is the Freak Athlete Nordic Mini and is really the most budget-friendly way to do Nordic curls in your home gym. But is it any good? Is it something you should look at versus some of the other options like say the Rogue or Sorenex or some of those other companies that are making something like this but in a bigger fashion? Well, that's what we're gonna find out today. Let's get into it. Now, like many of our reviews, this company sent this to us free of charge to review. Now, as you'll see in the review, it's gonna be an honest review, my honest opinion and take, but I just for transparency's sake wanna let you know that. Also, if you'd like to purchase this product, check out the link below the like button where you can. Those are affiliate links. That supports us. The company will pay us a small commission off of the purchase price that doesn't increase your purchase price. So if you are supporting us in that way, thank you. Okay, this is the Freak Athlete Nordic Mini. Now, Freak Athlete is a newer company, and really all their equipment is based on the principles and the type of training that ATG does. ATG is from the mind of knees over toes guy, Ben Patrick, which is basically helping people build bulletproof knees. I do a lot of their training, just a lot of the type of stuff they do, whether it's sled drags, sled pushes, Nordic curls, hip flexor movements, just a lot of things that help to bulletproof the lower body. I found a lot of benefit from it, and I found a ton of benefit from Nordics. If you've got a home gym and you're not doing Nordics and you want to have strong, useful posterior chain, I highly recommend throwing them in, and this is a piece of equipment you can use. This is kind of the design. It's made to be a smaller Nordic board, and they're very simple products, as you can see. It's a flat top. Flat top is different from what you'd see with, say, a GHR or a GHD that often have half moon tops. The reason it's not as nice is because it's easier. You're not gonna get as strong in the movement. There's lots of people, and I was one of these, that could rep out GHRs no problem on a half moon design. I then moved to a flat top, like on a Nordic board, and it's like, dude, bring back the GHR so I can do it on that because it's so much easier with a half moon because you're at a better leverage point. This removes all of that and forces you to just drive your knees into the flat top. The other part that's nice on this is it's got an adjustable back piece. And so the way this works is you put your feet in here, you then have your Achilles up against this, and you're basically driving up through it. These are a foam. This isn't like as nice of a foam as what you'd see from some of the higher end options, but I think for the price point, it's actually pretty nice. I haven't noticed any cracking or anything like that over time, but just because the outside is as firm as it is, I would not be surprised if eventually they would. However, they're pretty soft, not overly soft because of the firm shell, but they're comfortable enough that you're not really gonna ever have to think about this being an uncomfortable position. There are rollers out there that some of these equipment companies use. They don't have enough foam on them and they're just not very comfortable. So this is kind of an important piece. This piece is adjustable. So depending on your height, you can adjust this. Obviously it comes all the way out. You can adjust it in 4 different increments just to make sure your foot is all the way down. Then they have this back piece, and this back piece is so you can put your feet up against it. Oftentimes when you're just trying to use max effort, it's nice to have something where you can push your toe against and to prevent your legs from sliding out because you are using a ton of force when you're using these. This will keep your legs down, and then this will keep your feet up against it. On the back, you can see this Olympic sleeve. This is designed to hold plates. And there's really a couple of reasons for this. One is it's nice as just extra storage. So if you want to just store extra plates on here, you can, whether it's chain plates or whatever. But really what it's for is to keep this thing weighted down. Because it's mini, it's miniature, it's not taking up as much space as many of the other options. You just throw a plate on the back and it'll basically be more stable when you're on it and doing Nordics. The other thing is this top right here. This is an important part because your knees are driving into this. They're using a similar vinyl as what you find on some of the older rep benches. It's a somewhat grippy vinyl, but not overly so. I actually like the vinyl they're using for this. It's not super thick. It's kind of what you'd expect for their price point in terms of thickness. However, after using many of the rep benches over the years, like, it's gonna last. In addition to that, it's got a foam top. The foam top, one of the issues I found with some of these is they're too soft. This one is perfect. Like, it really is. This is a part of the piece that I feel like they got really well. It's firm enough that you don't feel like you're just sinking into a bed. You need something strong to push against, but it's not so firm that it's super uncomfortable on your knees because you don't have any fat or anything on your knees. It's just bone. It does not feel good if it's a hard surface. That's why this pad is really nice. I think it's a good combination of the two. And then it sits off the ground enough where you can actually overstretch, which I like. Many of the Nordic boards that are out there, they sit about here, like just a few inches off the ground. This sits a little bit taller. The reason I like that is because when I'm doing Nordics, oftentimes I'm doing eccentrics with plates. And so when I go down, I can bring a plate, say it's a 45 pound, and still get a full stretch, drop it, and then come back up. That's a great way to get to the point where you can actually do a full Nordic. And so having the ability to use a plate in this way, I actually like that they went with that. Then on the front are wheels for easy maneuverability, and then a fully powder coated metal frame that's bolted together. And there's a couple reasons it's bolted together. One, it's bolted together because people are using this in a home gym, and in a home gym, your floors are not perfectly flat. So if it's a welded unit, sometimes you can get some shaking just because your floor is not flat, or maybe it wasn't welded flat. The bolt together design is nice both because you can allow it to settle and then bolt it down, and also because it can ship cheaply. Like, so this can all fit in a box. I like the bolt together design for most home gym equipment. A welded design is nice for stability and just how long it'll last, but for most people, bolt together is really honestly the best option. So that's the rundown of the machine. Let me take it off. I'll show you kind of how it works in real life. Okay, this is how it works. Pretty simple. There really isn't much adjustment that you have to do ordinarily. Once you get it set, you kind of just leave it, and that really is this. Once you have it where you want it, you place your legs in, and then you do a Nordic. And so a Nordic, the way it works is you fall down, and you can control it as much as you want, all the way down, and then you're here. And most people, what you're gonna have to do is push up and then come up. Let's see if I can do it. I haven't warmed up, but. Now you'll see this plate sleeve is sized in such a way that you can fit a 45-pound plate on here. The size is kind of a compromise. It's very nice because it's very compact. At the same time, it's not as sturdy as some of the longer ones where you don't need extra weight to throw on there. However, for most home gyms, I'd probably take the space savings and then just adding the weight on at the end. Because you're putting so much force in this, when you use it, which I just did, like I just used it with a 25-pound plate, the front will come up because you're using a lot of force. So having a bunch of weight on here, even if it causes the front to pick up a little bit when you're not using it, once you're on it, it'll settle. It's very nice. In order to do a Nordic, you control yourself down as much as you can. Once you go down, when you want to come back up, this is the hard part. So honestly, when you're starting, it's nice to just push up. And if I'm doing a ton of volume, that's how I do it. But if I want to do a full one, it'd look like this. I like to do a little bit of a kip because I'm not fully there yet. If you are fully there, the way it will look is you'll go down, touch your chest very gracefully, and come back up at the same speed. If you ever see somebody do that, just know they have world-class hamstring strength. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, seriously, you look at this movement, it's like, it's not that big deal. I've been training this for over a year. Every week, twice a week. I'm also a 500+ pound deadlifter, and I still can't do it touching my chest and coming back up gracefully. I have to kip. So the kip, the way it works, come down here and then back up. There we go. I'm telling you, so rough. Ways that you can train to do this, adding bands, adding plates on the way down. That's one thing that's kind of nice. I'll take this off and show you. One thing if you're trying to like get to this point that I found works really well is using a plate on the way down. Your body's used to that weight. Suddenly when it's released, it's like a rubber band snapping back. It's pretty cool. So I can go down and then come back up. It's like, that was the way I was able to do one first without using hands, and is the way that I recommend doing it. But this machine can allow you to do that type of training really for a lot less price than any of the other ones that are out there. In fact, I don't know if it's just because this movement isn't as popular as some others out there, but there's just not a lot of options for this device. Now, that doesn't mean this device is perfect. For the price point, I think it offers a lot. It's around 250 bucks, sometimes 300 bucks, depending on the sale. Right now they're offering a sale. They don't include shipping, so you have to pay shipping on the end, which does increase the price. But when you look at the options, most of the other ones that are out there are double the cost. For instance, the one that I bought initially when I started to train was Rogue's Nordic board. Very nice. It's Rogue quality, fully welded, really heavy, black powder coat, looks mean, real long table, but it takes up a lot of space and it's over double the price of this. Like, just not the reality for one movement for most people. Then you have something like Sorenex that's making their poor man glute. That is not a poor man glute because it's around 500 bucks or so. Like, this is really the best option at the moment. Now, something they're coming out with, which I think is pretty cool, is an extension table for this. So it would use this same design, and then it has an extension table that comes out, and then it has an incline table on it. And the reason that is nice is because suddenly you can start training through different ranges of motion. Another way I train Nordics is I'll use DC blocks, and I'll use DC blocks and like stack them up, and I'll go to a distance, and as I got stronger, I went lower and lower. But that's another piece of equipment you have to have and move out. They're making a table that extends up and then has a ladder system on it and allows the table to go down in increments, so you can just go down, touch that, and then come back up. And you can track it over time so you're progressive overloading, just like you do with a barbell when you're lifting. I love that addition, and it's not just a new table you have to buy. You can use the Nordic Mini you've already got and just add that on. So, all this said, do I recommend this? Yes, if you want to do Nordics and you're on somewhat of a budget. I don't think this is as good as, say, the Rogue option. The Rogue option is better, it feels better. I actually made a DIY option that uses a Rogue Monster Light strip and their Echo GHD plate with an AbMat crash cushion that is around 350 bucks when it's all said and done. And I really like that option, that's what I use. But for something where you don't have to DIY, something that's priced pretty affordably, especially when you compare it to the other options and works just as well once you have the weight on it as any of the others, I think it's a winner. Now, there is something that I would love to see this improved with and other options as well. I don't necessarily know how they could do it with this one because they're having to put the plate post on the back, but one of the annoying things about these is they take up that much space for one movement. So even though this is the mini version, it's still taking up quite a bit of floor space for a home gym. This is a standard 2-car garage size, and if you put it in the corner, you're basically removing the ability to use that. It's got wheels, it would be nice to just move it in and out. In this one, the problem is, because it's got that weight plate on the back, you can't like store it upright, right? So like, if I wanna like barely balance, see, I can't even balance it. So like, there's no way for this, which like what we see with weight benches, and one of the really nice things about adjustable benches and flat benches now is nearly all of them stand up. Why not make this in such a way, I don't know exactly what they'd have to add, but add some feet so I could lift it up, roll it over to the side, and just put it out of the way. It's too small of a machine, and it has only one exercise you're really gonna do on it. I feel like that should be almost a requirement for home gyms. So Freak Athlete or any other company that's wanting to come out with a Nordic board, add that. Like, that is a super big value for home gym owners, and I think would make this option even more appealing than it already is. Now, although I'd love to see an option so this stands up without anything additional, there's a couple points that were brought up by some of our team that I think would be kind of cool. One would be a wall mount. So there's a company named Torque Fitness that has a sled. It's a tripod sled that uses magnetic resistance, and they make a wall mount where it stores on the wall. It's very nice, gets it out of the way. I think you can make a French cleat system that would allow it to connect into here. You could DIY it, but I'd love to see them come out with something that could work for this. Another one that Sam brought up is to use a 9-bar holder or some other basically barbell holder because this is an Olympic size sleeve. So you could technically take this and fit it in there, and suddenly you've got it in your specialty bar holder. You know, you got your specialty bars and you got your Nordic board. Kind of cool. Okay, so there is the Freak Athlete Nordic Mini. Do I recommend it? Again, yes, if you're within that price range, you don't want to buy the more expensive ones, and you want to be able to do Nordics. Now, there are cheaper ways to do it. You could just get a leg roller if you have a really nice rack, and you can do it on that. That's one way I've seen it done. The problem is the padding that you're using for your legs, it's got to be really thick because you're putting a ton of force and it'll end up hurting your knees. But for a standalone option, this works really well. If you're watching this, I'd love to know, have you used this or have you used other options and you're trying to do Nordics? I'd love to just hear your experience with it or what you think about this product versus the many others that are out there. Or even better than that, I think, would be what additions would you like to see to different products like this that could make them better for most home gym owners? Okay, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. We will see you next time. Peace.